Warning, listening to this podcast could result in spending or saving large amounts of money. Listener discretion advised.
Strap in for a wildly unqualified adventure with two overly opinionated collectors, armed with good intentions and questionable expertise, as they stumble through a galaxy of toys and collectibles, pretending to know it all, where every figure has a story and every opinion is a showdown. Welcome to Across the Toyverse.
Welcome everybody back to another episode 2 of Across the Toyverse.
Across the Toyverse.
Me and my buddy Scott here. How you doing, buddy? How's it going?
Doing pretty good. Feeling good, looking good, all the good.
Yeah, I'm glad everybody can see you and see how good you're looking. I too am looking my best tonight. I'm glad everybody can see me as well. Oh man, it's been a week. And it literally has been a week. It's been 1 week since our last episode aired, and people were asking, was it going to be a weekly episode or a weekly podcast? Is it going to be, every 2 weeks? Looks like it's going to be every 2 weeks. Looks like that's about what's going to happen. Whether we like it or not, that seems to be the case. We are recording this 1 week from our last episode, and just to let you guys know, we are in full swing on the figure pose off on our Instagram over at across_the_Toyverse over on the IG. Scott has kicked things off this week with Cammy from the Jada Toys Street Fighter 2 Ultra line, and I am kicking it off with DJ, kicking it, being the. I like that both of our characters are really kind of known for their kicks. That's what their fighting styles is, a lot of kicks.
Yes.
I didn't think about that until just now, actually.
Yeah. I just picked Cammy because she's a good one, and you picked DJ because you like him, and it turns out they're kicking it. They're kicking it.
Oh yeah, they're both kicking it. Yeah, Cammy's great. She's like one of the top figures in that line, dude. She's so good.
She's great. Yeah. And for a 6-inch, a very affordable 6-inch female figure, just seems like that's nearly impossible for companies to make. But in particular, I just wanted to say, in particular, for a 6-inch female figure, she gets really good range, really good, great articulation without messing up like the lines and the mold and the silhouette and all that. It's a solid figure.
Yeah, and I know recently you picked up the Marvel Legends Spider-Man 2 Black Cat figure. I was with you. You picked her up. And how does Cammy compare to her? Because you're right, it does seem like a lot of these mainstream companies, they don't put out a ton of female figures, and then when they do, you kind of see why. Like McFarlane doesn't. I mean, we know his stance on female figures. He doesn't make a lot of them, but when he does, they're just not as good as his male figures.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know what the deal is. I imagine a lot of it has to do with they want to get the silhouette to look right. But it just seems like they always are missing like some kind of crunch. They're always missing an ab crunch. But to answer your question, the Cammy versus the new the Jada Toys Cammy versus the new Marvel Legends Black Cat, the Jada Toys Cammy all the way. The Black Cat's not bad. It's actually better than I thought it was going to be, but it still isn't as good as the Jada Toys Cammy. And I think the Black Cat is sort of on par with that comic version Black Widow they put out a couple of years ago. That came with like a bunch of accessories. That's a great figure too from Hasbro. But yeah, this Cammy, man, she's just so much fun to pose, and like I did the same thing I always do when I get a new figure is I like to that night, if possible, sit down on my couch and just do like a little posing session and take some cool pictures of as many poses as I can before I get tired of doing it. And with Cammy, I just I don't know, just kept going, and she just kept. She could do every pose I was trying, so it was.
Yeah, I had a blast when I did my pose video for her as well. Like it's just like anything you try, she looks good in. Like she's just fantastic from any angle for sure. I'm gonna have nothing to do with her design her character design, her 2D character design has everything to do with the way that Jada makes figures, and they just make they Jada's making toys that I want to buy of stuff I don't even care about, like whether it's Street Fighter, like I love Street Fighter, don't get me wrong. I don't need a Street Fighter line of toys in my collection. I just don't need them. Like they're great. I'm glad to have them, but I don't need them, right?
Yeah.
Like their cereal box mascots. I don't need those in my collection. But
Yeah.
man, they make me want to buy every one of them. And now they got Scooby Doo coming out. Same thing. Like, you know, it's kind of crazy. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about last week's episode. We understand there is a mic issue. We're very much aware of the mic issue. We know. Scott desperately does want to get a new mic. He's doing the best he can with what he has, and we're trying not to sink any money into this at this point. If this is something that we stick with, and it kind of is something that we both end up wanting to do long term. Things may change in the future. We're trying to do some things this week to mitigate some of the static and the interruptions, and I think it's going well. You sound good to me for right now, so knock on wood, it stays like that. So we are recording in the middle of the week. Definitely go and check out. We're right in the middle of our pose off. I think we'll keep going until maybe like Friday or Saturday, and you'll just want to pick your favorite pose just by hitting the like button. Whichever figure pose has the most likes at the end of the week, then that figure will be declared the winner of the pose off, and then we will choose 2 new figures and go at it again. So definitely head over to Across the Toyverse on Instagram and make your voices heard.
Yeah. And weigh in too. Give us a comment, something that you like, or something you want to see, some characters you want to see fight in the future, because we're doing Street Fighter right now. We're doing Street Fighter right now, but we'll eventually run out of Street Fighter characters. So we might go ahead and start bringing Marvel characters in soon, or we could jump to something completely different. So let us know if you guys like what we're doing, and if you have any ideas for future
Yeah.
pose offs.
That's a really good point. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. But yeah, please definitely do that. And I think it's also kind of I think it's only fair that we stick within the same brand. Like if you want to see like a Spider-Man pose off, like one of us is definitely not going to bust out a Mafex versus like a Marvel Legends. We'll try our best to keep it. I think you and I pretty much have a lot of the same stuff when it comes to the same toy brands. There's probably a few. I know you've got a couple of Sentinel figures that I don't. So like we'll keep it within the same vein. But yeah, if you guys got some suggestions, hit us up. Let us know in the comments, either of this video or in the comment section of the figure poses in Instagram. Dude, I just want to talk a little bit about Joe Fest. Is coming up this weekend. I will be going because it does kind of include some of our friends, mine and yours, locally. We have I'm going to be going up with 3 of our local friends. I'm riding up with one, we're staying with another, and then another local friend and his kids are coming up. So we'll be enjoying Joe Fest this weekend in Augusta, Georgia. 4 Horsemen are going to be there. Savage Crucible is going to be there. Spirit Toys is going to be there. Gunrunner Marauders is going to be there. Big Bad Workshop, Fresh Monkey Fiction is going to be there. I think Ramen Toy is going to be there. The people behind Delta 17. It's going to be it's not strictly GI Joe related. It's kind of blossomed into a lot of other stuff.
That's
But
really
we'll
cool.
have
Just to break in, I love hearing all these other like smaller up and coming companies showing up with stuff like that, because that's how I learn about like what new stuff to get excited about, is through either seeing them at a show, or hearing friend, or hear like bringing something back, and I'm like, okay, I've seen their stuff online. I don't know how good it is, and then you get to like hear somebody who held one in hand and can tell you how good something is.
yeah,
So
and you actually
that's
went with
exciting.
us last year. That was a
Yeah,
fun. It was me, you, and Alberto, right? Like we all
yeah, yeah. So
we hit.
who's going up there this year? Shout them out. Which of our friends
Yeah,
are going up there?
so me and Jose are actually riding together. So we're gonna drive up together, and then Monroe has an Airbnb for us, and so the 3 of us are gonna stay together. And then Alberto's coming up with 1 or 2 of his, or all. I don't know. I think maybe all, actually, because I think his wife is coming. All of
Dang,
his kids are
all
going to.
25 kids. Yeah.
All 25 of them, the whole team's coming. But I think they're staying through Sunday. I think Monroe may even be staying through Monday. I'm not sure, but Jose and I are just coming back Saturday night. And it's about a 5.5 hour drive. It's about like going to it.
Yeah.
And it's not that big of a deal. But we're leaving at about 9 a.m. On Friday morning. And we'll get there when we get there because there's probably a lot of Targets and Walmarts between here and there, and we'll probably do some toy hunting. Um, my
Oh,
wife keeps saying, like, "What's your budget? Like, what are you planning on buying?" And honestly, I really don't know. I don't really have a list. I have a list that I'm buying for other people, but for myself, I don't really have a list, mainly because Savage Crucible is going to be there. And I've kind of reached out to them. I have some friends that work at the studio, and I reached out to them and I was like, "Hey, I know you're shipping the Wave 2 figures right now. A lot of Kickstarter backers have been getting them in hand this week. A lot of my friends have been getting them in hand. It's like, are you guys going to be having those at the show?" And they basically said TBD. Don't really know if we can get all of the Kickstarter backer stuff out first, and then any pre-orders that were done directly through our website or through our retail partners. Then yes, we will bring it to the show. If not, then we probably won't because we want to make sure that the backers get their figures first, which I understand. So I'm kind of putting my budget on hold because I really don't know. Because if they're going to have Wave 2, that's probably going to be my whole budget. I'm probably going to spend all the money at the Savage Crucible table, but we'll see. They're doing something really cool. There's a little company called Marauders Gun Runners. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but
yeah.
they make 1/12 scale weaponry,
Yeah.
and they've been making that for quite a while. I believe their weapon side of Marauders is called Gun Runners. But I think they've branched out into making their own line of figures as well, which I hear are really good.
That's cool.
Um, I I can't remember if that is the Delta 17 or if that's something else. I can't remember. Somebody out there who's like a big fan of Delta 17 is going to be like, "Dude, that's so wrong. You don't know." But I don't buy them, so I don't know. But they're gonna be there, and they're having something really cool this year called like Build a Soldier. So basically you can pick your parts for either a male or a female soldier, and then build them out, build their, choose your torso, your legs, your head, their gear, their weaponry. And my buddy Greg, who I do double jointed with, he is a sucker for female action figures. That's his favorite things. He loves female figures. He also loves red figures. So if there's a red female figure, you can guarantee he's buying that for sure. So he wanted me to pick him up one, and he's like, "Dude, I like badass female figures, so just make me a badass female soldier." So that's really cool. I'm looking forward to doing that because I don't know how that process is going to work, and it's interesting, and I'm very much interested in how that's going to work. Oh, Super Seven's going to be there. I think they're probably, Super Seven's probably the biggest name that's going to be there. Um, you went with us last year, and you saw that Seth Green was there, and one of his writing partners from Robot Chicken. Apparently, they have like a new show that they do that's along the lines of Robot Chicken. I guess they're going to do that again this year. Another really cool thing, as I don't think I'm going to be able to attend it, but Super 7 is having like a panel on Saturday, I think around 5 or so. And in that panel, they're going to be showing off their San Diego Comic Con reveals. So that's kind of cool. So
Yeah.
probably catch those on the interwebs as soon as I get in Saturday night. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to I love shopping for other people, which is great because I get that euphoric feeling. I get that rush of adrenaline or like serotonin that comes from like buying stuff, but I'm not buying it with my money. Like that's kind of cool. Like I'm like, "Oh yeah, look at all the stuff I got." None of it's for me. Like it's all for other people. So that's kind of fun. I actually don't mind doing that at all. Shopping for other people. Some people think it's a burden, but it's not that big of a deal. I dig it. Um, but yeah, man. So I think that's all of the news and the welcomes and all that. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to get into our pickups. All right, welcome back. Welcome back. We're going to get into our pickups now. And we don't do like a full, like exhaustive list of pickups. We just kind of like focus in on one pickup and kind of like what we're digging about it. What did you get this week that you picked up that you're into right now?
Before I mention the thing I have in hand, I'm super excited that I ordered the Storm Arena. I'm sorry, the Storm Collectibles Baki Hanma, the one that's sold out from Big Bad Toy Store a while back. I found somebody selling one on eBay for a reasonable price. It should be here if if Jacksonville doesn't Jacksonville and send it to another state. It should be here tomorrow. But anybody who lives here in Tallahassee and probably other parts of Florida, that when your item says it has been received by Jacksonville, there's better than 50% chance probably that it's going to another state and then coming back to
Yeah.
Florida. So,
Yeah.
so we'll
Exactly.
see.
I had that happen last week. I had a figure that said it's in Jacksonville, and I was like, "Ooh!" I was excited. It's like that means it's gonna be here tomorrow. And then I woke up the next morning. It's like it's in Huntsville, Alabama, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Thank you so very much for."
Yeah. It's not even consistent where they send it. They got to move it. It shows up in the Jacksonville main office and they're like, put it on a truck now. I don't give a shit where it goes. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
It's like you guys literally drove through Tallahassee to get to Huntsville, Alabama. You drove through.
Right.
You could have
Right.
thrown it out the window.
Yeah. Yeah. Just kicked it out of out of the truck.
That would
But
be
yeah.
better than now. It's 4 days later. It's going to show up.
Yeah, just tell me about where it was on the highway. I'll go by and get it. Um, let's
Mile
see.
marker.
Yeah, mile marker. Um, yeah, so I have a Baki Hanma coming. I'm super excited for. I love Baki. I don't want to get too much into that because I don't have that figure in hands yet. But I did get from Big Bad Toy Store. I finally pulled the trigger on a Boss Fight Studios Epic Hacks figure because I've been checking those out for a while, and it took me a minute to figure out that the Vitruvian hacks are like the 4-inch and the Epic hacks are the 6-inch. So when you're scrolling through on Big Bad, they all look the same. They all look like they're the same scale, and so the prices like all over the place.
Yeah, you can't search for hacks like the
Right.
hack system. Yeah.
Right. So the price because the prices are all over the place, and like I didn't know what that meant, so it kind of scared me away from those. So I finally decided to pull the trigger on one of the 6-inch Epic hacks, and the hacks stands for Highly Articulated Character Kit System, and that's mostly true. It's pretty highly articulated. I have a couple of issues with this guy, but I got the Bone Salt Crazed Luchador. He's a skeleton luchador. He's wearing like the luchador, wrestling get up. It's got some like rips and tears in it, so he's obviously like dead. And he comes with some cool accessories. He comes with a couple of different heads, a championship belt, a microphone, swappable feet, a baseball bat, and some barbed wire that can go onto the baseball bat. He's cool. He looks great. I would say the best thing about this figure, it was $30, which I'm not sold on it being that much of a value, but the best thing about it is on a shelf. This is a great looking figure. He's going to look great in a vanilla or near vanilla pose on your shelf. My main issue is that he has double jointed knees, but only single jointed elbows, and he's a wrestling figure. And that's going to limit the amount of wrestling poses I can put him in if he's only got single jointed elbows. The other issue that's the main issue. The other issue is he only comes with one set of hands, and they're kind of like gripping hands, but they're manageable for a fist. It's close enough because they're bone, so you can kind of imagine that that's a closed fist. So they work as like fists or gripping hands, but still, it's a wrestling figure. I want more hands. I want some like like open hands so he could be like soaring through the air or maybe slapping his opponent, or some like like splayed finger, like ready to attack, like grappling hands. I want a few different hands. And instead they gave me boots, and then they gave me alternate skeleton feet, which I'm not going to use that. I'm just going to keep the boots on them because that's what it looks like.
Right. Right. So this is just to make sure. This is the 6-inch hacks, right?
Yeah. Yeah. 6-inch.
Yeah. I have one of the female, the plain female bodies pre-ordered from this line. I'm really hoping that'll be my first hacks figure. I'm waiting for it to come in.
I have one of those too, a female, and I think I have a male figure in like the darker skin tone because it's just so hard to find like a good uh dark skin tone if you want to make certain kinds of characters. It's like everybody that comes out is like Caucasian skin color, and so I just wanted somebody that I
Right.
can make into someone else. So so I think I have one of those on pre-order also. And I'm looking forward to those. I'm pretty sure those are both double jointed knees and elbows. Um,
Yeah, it's probably because it's a skeleton.
yeah,
It's probably really thin. Probably
it is.
didn't do that.
You know, it is. But I mean, I have some double jointed skeletons. It can be done. They couldn't do it with this guy. That's a shame because that's really kind of holding him back. Oh, the other thing. Yeah, so he's got this like luchador costume that's kind of draped down over his midsection. It's kind of split up on one side, so like one leg can kick forward and the other leg just can't. So
Mm.
the costume, I was hoping it was a softer rubber than it is, but it's too stiff that his left leg can barely do anything. So it's like I just I you know what I mean? Like $30. I'm just like, I don't know. He looks really cool. He can't, there's a lot he can't do. I still managed to get some pretty good photos. Um, but that's it. I don't think there are any more to take.
Which
You know?
we'll post on across the Toyverse
Oh yeah.
page, of course.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that. But I did like
That's very disappointing that
yeah.
when they're in the concept phase of this, they're drawing out, or maybe they've made it into the 3D sculpting section of the process, and they're like, hey, let's have part of his shirt, his costume split, and it's going to hang over here. And then somebody doesn't go, that's probably going to hinder articulation. Or when they got the production samples back, they go, oh, like this particular part of the design is nice over here, but the design is like hindering the mobility of the figure over on this side. We should like rethink this. And and it's sad to see that they were like, nah, it's fine. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, so the figure can do it. Like the plastic can
Right.
move, like the joints are there,
Yeah.
but the design of the character is holding back the articulation. And that's
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah. It's just
That's
there's
a
a hand
choice. That's a choice.
right.
That's not a, an accident. That's a choice.
Right. There's just a handful of decisions that were made that I'm just like, if I were in the room, I wish I had been in the room and I could have said, no, do that instead of this, do this instead of that. And then this guy is easily $30. But as it stands, I'm not mad. I bought him. He's cool. I just now knowing having this guy and looking at the other ones, I can kind of look and see like, all right, I don't think I'm gonna get that guy because of the issues I see with this guy. You know what I mean? So
Right, right. Yeah,
yeah.
it makes a lot of sense. And I've seen your toy room. You've got one of the old Mezco Hellboys, and Hellboy
Yeah.
needs a luchador skeleton to fight. So
That's true. That's a pretty good matchup right there.
that would be fantastic. Yeah, I don't have need for a luchador skeleton in my collection, but if I did, the only place it would go would be like under Hellboy's foot. Like, that's the only place I would put it, is like, because that's exactly like something Hellboy would go fight. Remember that time I fought that whole wrestling match down in Mexico? I mean, he actually did. The luchadors, I think they turned out to be werewolves or vampires or something. Not skeletons, but hey, whatever, it fits. Now, the reason that we chose some third-party figures for our pickups this week is because I don't think we talked about this in the intro, and we probably should. And we're not professionals here. Is that this whole episode is going to be about knockoffs, bootlegs, and third-party action figures. So that's why we chose some third-party figures for our pickups this week. I'm talking about the Valiverse Action Force Praetorian Wraith. Now, this is going to be the white exclusive that was exclusive to ZoloCon. I was not able to get out there, but I had some friends who went and picked this up for me. And I've had this for, I don't know, a couple of months now, and I've already done a review. If you want to check out the review on this guy, you definitely can over at under the video section here on YouTube for Saturday Morning Toy Collector. You can check out my review for this guy, but I'll post some pictures that I took on Instagram at Across the Toyverse, and you can see how this guy looks for yourself. The Praetorian Wraith is basically he is like an android or a cyborg that is created by Crimson. I believe it's called Crimson Industries, and they are just like the battlefield unit. They're just these robots that have, weaponry, and then like these laser, like plasma cutter blades on their arms and stuff. Um, and man, he's just got a lot of articulation. If you've ever held or handled a Valaverse figure, you know that you're what you're getting into. This is a 6-inch GI Joe adjacent line. So this is a third party company. Bobby Valla, of course, famously used to work at Marvel on the Hasbro on the Marvel team. So he's worked on Marvel Legends. He knows the toy industry, and he decided to set out on his own and make his own line of modern military scale action figures. And the Praetorian is one of I guess for a good cipher for him would be the, Cobra Bat Trooper from G.I. Joe. If you think about the Cobra Bats, that's basically what this guy is. He's just like this robotic soldier. Looks very humanoid, looks like a human in a suit, but he does have a few proportions that are, not actually human. But this guy's great. They've put him out already before, I think in a couple of different colorways. There's been like a green translucent one. There's been a black one. This one is all white. And just recently, I think this week, Valaverse announced that there is going to be a new black and green version that's going to be at the Dallas Fort Worth toy show that's coming up in a couple of weeks. Maybe it's coming up next week, and it's going to be a blowtorch version, and it's going to be the most packed out version of this character that they have released to date. It's going to come with like dual blow torches on his arms that are all removable, a ton of weaponry, and it looks really cool. It's going to be in a deluxe set, and of course, I'm sure the price will be around that as well, of a deluxe figure. So typically, like I think I paid $40 for this guy. There was a 1 in 100 chance you'd get an all clear variant. I didn't get one. I got the white, but that's okay. I knew that going in, and I was like, if I'm okay getting the white one, then I'm fine. If I get a clear one, great. If I get a white one, I'm still okay. And the variant on the deluxe blowtorch version that's coming out is that all of the flames and all the fire accessories are orange, but there's a 1 in 100 chance that you'll get one where the flame accessories are blue. And they look pretty dope as well. So those will also go up on Valaverse's website, valaverse.com, I believe is their website. For purchase after the Dallas Fort Worth show. But yeah, I'm slowly, very cautiously getting into Action Force. My good friend Steve Mank, who runs Articulated Empire, who's a sponsor of both of this show and my channel, Saturday Morning Toy Collector, he's been the driving force for me to pick up some of these figures. He sends me a lot of the Valaverse stuff for review, and because he's done that, I've gone off on my own and purchased certain figures. I have found that for me, I really dig their desert combat themed characters. So any character that comes out, male or female, human or robot, that's got like a desert theme, I kind of pick those up because I really dig the way those costumes look. If I had one complaint, I would say that, sometimes the quality control, you may get a loose joint here or there that's like really floppy, loose. But hey, that happens with Hasbro as well and Star Wars, so I can't really, fault them for that. And I would say probably my only other complaint is that in the beginning, I kind of feel like maybe some of the characters lacked character. I think they just kind of were very stereotypical, um, you know, black market kind of like contractors, like these guys that you would typically see with like the baseball caps and bandanas and beards and stuff and glasses. But I think slowly he's kind of getting into some more nuanced characters now. Um, and I think that's really cool. Because, I'm really into they make quality stuff. I think Bobby responds very well to his audience and what people say and complain. And one of the biggest complaints right now is that the sometimes you will order a figure and it will come in and the plastic bubble, the glue will have come unglued and it will come off of the card back, and people don't like that. And so he's now thinking of switching to more of a. He's announced that they're going to be switching to more of a clamshell where the clamshell has little flaps that wrap around the card. So that would make it also user friendly. You could take the figure out, play with it, and put it back in the package. And I think that that's pretty dope. So that's my pickup. for this week, even though I picked it up. Actually, a shout out to my friend Terrence St. John, who picked that up for me at ZilloCon um, several weeks ago. But I did want to talk about it because it's a fun figure, and it's kind of in the news this week with the new deluxe version. So that is everything. I hope Scott's still with us. Scott, you awake?
I'm here.
Okay, all right. Just want to make sure. I talk a lot. If you don't interject, I'll ramble.
Yeah, it's kind of weird with the way this cuts in though, so I didn't have anything to
No,
say.
it's
And
fine.
yeah.
It's fine. It's fine. That's all of our pickups. So we're going to take another quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of our topics this week, which is going to be knockoffs, bootlegs, and third-party action figures. All right, welcome back. Welcome back. This week we're going to be talking about. This is actually Scott's idea. I asked him. I said, "What do you want to talk about next, man? We've done Spider-Man. Is that it? Are we done with the podcast?" He was like, "No. What are you talking about? Knockoffs, bootlegs, third-party figures. They go all the way back to the '80s, to the golden age of action figures.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. And they are enjoying a resurgence these days. There are third-party companies out there that are noticing that there are huge gaps in the toy world, and they are stepping up, whether legally or illegally, to fill that space. And you love them, and I love them, so we're going to talk about them.
I would say this is something of a third party slash knockoff renaissance, because there's been some great figures coming out that are just well made, generally speaking, and look good and are affordable. And it's just, you could literally, you could have like say you decided to make a rule, just I'm not buying any more name brand stuff. I'm going all third party and all knockoffs, and like you could still fill your shelves with tons of cool stuff, and save money doing it. So I think this subject is rife for good conversation right now.
Absolutely. And you certainly have your favorites. I have mine as well. But you brought up a really good point to knockoffs and bootlegs and third parties and all of that. That they've really been around since the '80s. Like this isn't anything new. Like toy companies have sort of been riding each other's coattails for a while. So when, in the '80s, when you had stores like Walmart and Target and Kmart, which I never had a Target around me when I was growing up. I had Walmart, I had Kmart, were like the big, and Sears, and like Service Merchandise. I think those were like the big department stores. We had KB Toys, had Toys R Us. So in these big name, big box toy stores, of course, you're going to find your He-Man, Masters of the Universe. You're going to find your GI Joe, Real American Hero. You're going to find your Transformers. But for every Walmart that's carrying those brands, you're going to have your smaller, lesser known stores. Like for me, it was Rose's or Fred's, um, or maybe even like some dollar stores that are going to carry, like, whether they're knockoffs or they're bootlegs or whatever you want to call them. There are these third party companies that try to capitalize on the popularity of those other toy lines by making other toy lines that are sort of adjacent to. Um, in some cases, you had toy companies like doing knockoffs of their own figure. Like I remember the very first time that I got one of the Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves action figures, and took his cloak off. He had soft goods, brown robes, and you took them off, and you found out that that was just he had a big green, he had a big G on his belt because they used the green arrow body from Superpowers, and and used it because he's an archer. And so like I remember then I was like, oh, they really took. And then like you started looking at like yeah, like there's a whole, like they did it more than once. You start looking at the figures and you start realizing, oh, they just, you know, Little John is actually this other figure that, Will Scarlet was actually Robin repainted. It's like it's like they were knocking off their own figures. But I think for the first part, I think what we really need to do is we need to kind of define a knockoff or a bootleg and a third party company, because I do think that they are different things. I think you can use the term knockoff or bootleg interchangeably. I don't think there's any difference between those two. Um, I remember like when I was in school, like if you didn't have like Nikes, but you had some other toy company, you would, like, your friends would call them buddies. They're like, what kind of shoes are those? You're like, oh,
Oh
those are
yeah.
some buddies.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny because I have a neighbor who is, and that's, roughly the same age as me. And, his little son comes over and like he'll look at my action figures if I sit outside in the evenings. I don't really at right now because it's a little too hot. But and then he'll be like, "Oh, is this like an official figure, or is he?" Or he'll say, "Hey, is this official figure, or is this a buddy?" And I'm like, "Oh, you mean a knockoff?" And so like he even still keeps that going to this day. And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's right. We used to call bootlegs or knockoffs. We used to call them buddies when I was in school as well." So not do you have a delineation? Do you see a delineation between knockoffs and bootlegs, or for you, or that's just one and the same?
I think I do kind of use them differently. I'm interested to hear what other people think. So if you're listening to this and you know of an official definition for any of these, let us know. But I feel like the way I use knockoff, um, the way I use knockoff is sort of more like the companion line to something else, you know. The way I use bootleg is no. I think maybe it's the other way around. I don't know. I guess maybe I'm not too strict, but I think I use one term to mean like the companion line, like the warrior beasts, you know, to
Mm,
uh to the Motu, the master of the universe.
ye- yeah, we're gonna get
Um,
into that.
yeah, and then there's like bootleg is more like that's more like when you go. Sometimes you go to like I don't know, like, Bell's or Ross or one of those places, and you would see these figures that is clearly supposed to be, um, Power Rangers, but it's not Power Rangers, and then it says, like, Power Heroes or Ninja Rangers or something like that, and it's like, that that's is it a bootleg? Is it a knockoff? Are they the same thing? You know, like, we all get what's going on here, it's a money grab, it's like but it also kinda helps parents too who are like, my kid really wants Power Rangers. This store doesn't have them. I don't have Power Rangers money, but here for like $9, here's a pack of like 5 close enoughs, you know? So,
Right.
so I think
Yeah.
they have their place. They definitely have their place. And then third party is something that's just like my Ultimate Netman, the DB Toys Ultimate Netman, where it's obviously supposed to be Spider-Man. It just can't say Spider-Man on it. Um, but it is a high quality, very good quality figure that they put a lot of real intention and real love and care into making a good Spider-Man figure that hasn't been made yet. It's modeled after the Ultimate Spider-Man story or comics. Um, and so that's in a league. The third party stuff is in a league of their own, or even I would even say like the Farul store, they do the heads for replacement heads for other figures, you know. So they're like a
Well,
third
let's go
party.
to the across the Toyverse supercomputer, the ATV 3000. Let's ask it, what is the
Yeah,
difference between a bootleg and a knockoff? And it says, when I asked the supercomputer, it says bootlegs are typically unauthorized copies of a specific or original item, often sold illegally, while a knockoff are imitations designed to resemble the original but may not be an exact copy and can
right,
sometimes exist in a legal gray area.
right.
So that's pretty interesting because I didn't think that, I kind of use those terms interchangeably, a
Yeah,
knockoff or a bootleg. And I kind of consider like what you're discussing, like the Ultimate Netman. I kind of look at that as a third party. Like
yeah,
that's a company who's coming along and saying, I want to start making action figures and I want to start doing things, but we're not big enough to, you know, uh, be able to like legally go after the license. Like,
yeah,
they can't go after the Marvel license. And on top of that, even if they did have the money or the capital, the backers to like go and do that, there is this legal area that the way licensing works that, in America, 6-inch Star Wars action figures cannot be sold if it's not being sold by, Hasbro.
right.
And so, like, that's why you'll have like Mafex or whatever. It's like they're officially licensed, but are they sold? by officially licensed companies in America, or they have to be imported in, right? I mean, same thing with like Marvel or whatever. So I kind of use those, but it is interesting for the computer, the supercomputer, to tell us that there are two different delineations between bootleg and but for the I think for the generalized like conversation that we're going to have here, we can probably just say, knockoffs for third party companies because there is
Yeah.
a big delineation between those two. And now you did bring up Remco, who was, a big toy company in the 80s and their Warrior Beasts line. Now, this was a line of 5.5, I think they're like 5.5 inch action figures that were designed to be sort of like Masters of the Universe adjacent.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, you had I remember seeing these in stores, but I never owned one myself. And I'm just kind of like looking them up online, and it looks like there was probably 11 figures plus a figure that came with a beat like a big lizard that they could ride on. But these things, kind of like I was saying with Valaverse, but they don't seem to have the same level of like character or uniqueness about them. Like as much thought put into them as say, the characters that we grew up and loved,
Right.
like from Masters of the Universe. You're not going to see a character in here that's as unique as Trapjaw and then completely different from Triclops, and then that's completely different from Beastman, and that's
Yeah.
completely different from Merman. Like they may take a body and have like a snake, and then they color that thing green, and it's a new character. Purple, it's a new character. Black, it's a new character.
Yeah.
Um, there's just not enough uniqueness. Now, the really cool thing about Warrior Beasts is, I believe the guy's name is Mike Zolo. He's the guy who runs ZoloCon. I believe that he actually reached out and bought the license for Warrior Beasts. And so he's able to now make new figures. So he's making new 5.5 inch action figures. And he's creating new characters and putting them out, like the new Skullman.
Yeah.
Not the Skullman, the new Headhunter figure that the Four Horsemen just made. That's a tribute to Warrior Beasts, like their Skullman figure last year. Um, Headhunter is a brand new figure that he just created. There's not an old 80s Remco version of that. Did you have any Warrior Beasts when you were a kid?
I definitely did. I had there's like a lizard or the kind of lizard guy with like sort of a scorpion from Spider-Man tail. Um, I had that guy. I think there was one or two others I might have had, but I loved that guy. And what I really liked about those was that yeah, you could go into a store and they might be sold out of the uh, Masters of the Universe, or they might be sold out of just the one or two super popular ones that you were looking for. But then basically right next to them are all of these other characters that can be whoever you need them to be. They can be good guys or bad guys, and they were usually cheaper than the Masters of the Universe. Um, and so back in the day, that's how we bought toys. We'd beg our parents to take us to a store or beg to come along if they were going shopping. And we would get to go to the toy aisle and look and just see if there was a thing we wanted. And there was always something you kind of had in mind, but it wasn't always there. But then if you look right next to it, like, all right, well, I could get this guy instead, and he could be a stand-in villain for whatever. And I loved so much that ability to mold the universe the way I wanted to. I didn't have to get, maybe I wasn't getting Skeletor, or maybe I wasn't getting Hordak this time. But here's this guy. He who knows? Maybe he came from another dimension and the usurped Hordak, and now he's the new threat or whatever. Like I always loved that. I always thought that was so cool that you could that potential was there with these characters. But yeah, I had a couple. I know I had the like I said the green, and I don't know his name, but I know I had that guy.
I think the one you're talking about, he's green and yellow. I think his name is Gecko.
Okay, sounds right. Yeah, green was yellow.
Wait, some of them have really cool names. Like there's Craven, there's Gecko purple, Gecko yellow and green. There's
Yeah.
Guana, which looks like he's red and yellow and orange, like he's on fire. I would love for Four Horsemen to do that one next. There's Hydras, who's brown and he's got two heads. There's Skullman, of course, who's definitely a skull.
The brown guy with the two heads. I had him. That's right.
Oh yeah, Hydraz.
Yeah,
Hydraz is his
that's
name.
cool.
Uh, there's Skullman, who is definitely a
Yeah.
knockoff of Skeletor. You have Snake Man, Stegos, a Wolf Warrior, and Zardos. And then there's the Fire Dragon and Ramar. Now that's the one that comes with like this little lizard beast or whatever. But you're right. That's actually one of the built-in strengths, I think, of these knockoffs. Is you're correct. You can't when you like if your mom took you to the store and she bought you He-Man and Merman, like you're gonna go home and you're gonna have a lot of fun with those because you think of all of the times you've seen He-Man and Merman like on the cartoon, right? You're gonna go
Yeah.
home and you're like, this is a good guy and this is a bad guy, and they're gonna battle. And you're gonna live out, you're gonna play out those adventures that you saw on screen, but you're gonna play them out in your head and with the figures in your hands now, right? Like, but with these guys, you get two of them. There's no preset good guys or bad guys. Like
Yeah.
they may both be bad guys and they may not like each other, and that's okay. And now they're gonna fight. Like, or you can mix them into your He-Man. And so like you may say, oh, well, we're kind of like I've got more bad guys than good guys, so we're gonna make this guy a good guy now. And he's gonna fight on the side of He-Man. Like you don't like you can go into it and you apply your own imagination to it. And that's something that while yes, I know that toys did that, um, um, in our childhood, the toy lines that we grew up with, I know that they also encourage your imagination. But these toys did it in a completely different way because you got
Yeah.
to they didn't come with like a prescribed backstory. You could do what you wanted.
I didn't have
I
to
believe
I didn't have to ignore anything to make this work. Whereas
right, right.
if I wanted Merman to be a good guy, I had to get over the fact that in my brain, in my kid brain, I know he's a bad guy and bad guy means something, you know what I mean? But like with these guys, they're whatever. Yeah, they look what I liked doing was taking the guys who looked bad and making them the good guys, and then taking the ones who looked good and
Mm,
making them the bad guys, and just like really forcing my other characters to grapple with this this knowledge that like this guy clearly looks like an evil dude, but well, he says he's on our side, so I guess he is. You know,
yeah.
I don't know.
Did
There's
you
something
ever have
about that.
Did you ever have like with something that you like, did you have any kind of particular headcanon about any particular character or toy that kind of broke its existing canon from like a show or a comic? I definitely did. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. Um for me, and I think I've told this story before on Double Jointed with Greg, is that with me, Manny Faces was a good guy when he was in his human form. But if he got punched and his head spun to the monster side, he
Yeah.
became evil and he would fight against the good guys and they had to like try to keep him from getting hit again. And then if he got hit again, it would switch to the robot, which was neutral. He was very logical. So like the robot would be like, why are you guys attacking this thing? You shouldn't do that. Like he was very logical. And then somebody would have to hit him again to like turn him back to the good guy to fight with the good guy. So like that clearly broke canon.
Yeah.
I didn't know any better when I was a kid. Like that was my own. I made that up, and that's how I played with Nanny Faces. Well,
That is
he
that is
we had to save
beautiful.
him.
That is beautiful. I love that. I love that so much. Little kid Mark with his yeah, no, hit him again. We gotta turn him good again.
Yeah, don't
That's
let him
great.
get punched. Oh, he
Yeah,
tripped and
don't let him,
fell. Oh crap!
we should probably not bring him along on our battles anymore.
Yeah, he's a liability.
He's
This
too much
Nanny
of a
Faces.
liability. Yeah, but every time I think he's on my side, then somebody goes and hits him. Um, I don't remember doing that's totally something I would do. I'm sure I did do that, but mostly, yeah, like I said, mostly I took a lot of characters and just kind of flipped the script. And if it looked like a bad guy, I always liked pretending that that was the good guy. And um, so I did that a lot. I'm sure there were tons of villains that like if I went back and watched the show now, it would mess me up because I'd be like, oh, he was always a good guy when I played, you know, that kind of thing.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I can't think of any specific instances. But the next toy line I wanted to talk about from that era was the Marchand action heroes. Um, because those guys took basically it looked like they were taking the molds from the Secret Wars figures and just making their own
Mhm.
they're making their own line, and then they gave them vehicles, and they were called like something like sparking rockets.
They were
Anything
called
related?
action cycles. I've looked them up,
Okay.
action cycles, and they have real sparking action from the rear of the cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There was
action heroes. Yeah, they were called the rocket cycles. Sorry, that's what they were called.
right. They were the
Yeah.
sparking rocket cycles. Yeah, that's right. Um, and yeah, so I still have to this day, I still have one that was uh at my grandparents' house in Jacksonville. So it was a couple hours away, and we went over there occasionally. And so they had just a little box of toys that for whenever the grandkids came over and played. And so there was one of those guys, the red and black or red and white guy with like a black 3-point emblem on his chest.
Uh,
And I never knew as a kid, never knew who that guy was. Clearly modeled after Secret Wars, but I just never knew anything about him. And anyway, both my grandparents passed away a couple decades ago, and my mom, we went over to their house, and she was like, we're getting rid of all this stuff. Take whatever you want. And I immediately went to that closet, looked for those toys. Most of them had already been gone through by the other cousins, but that guy was still there. And I was like, dude, I fucking love this guy. So I still have him. He's on my shelf next to my Secret Wars figures, because that's where he belongs. Um, and so he was one who was my stand-in superhero whenever I was over there and didn't have my other Secret Wars with me. He was my stand-in superhero. Just, I don't know what I would call him. Just make up a name, whatever felt right that day, I guess.
the weird thing is I'm looking. I can't seem to find a list of their names anywhere.
Yeah,
I'm
I don't know.
kind of looking, but so I see this toy catalog from so the company was called Marchon, Marchon. Now they were kind of a little bit popular because they had already a success. I mean, I'm not gonna say super successful, but a previous toy line called where did I see it? It's called the Mysterians that were like kind of like Transformers, but they really didn't transform into like vehicles or like or cars or guns. It looks like they just transformed into shapes because like one's like a blue square and one's like a green hexagon, but they would transform. So that was like their first, you know, listen, when I was a kid, I thought GoBots was like a knockoff Transformers, but from what I've come to learn, I think it used to be the same company, and, like, some of the GoBots were actually in the Transformers line, and some of the Transformers were actually in the GoBots line, but they ended up being manufactured by, like, different people, so they became GoBots versus Transformers, and somebody in the comments can correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm sure they will because I don't know all of this to be, like, 100% true, but I kinda seem to remember, like, early on with the Transformers at least, they were just like a toy, like, they weren't based on the cartoon came later, right? So, like, the toys were made, and there was not a prescribed, like, good guy, bad guy. They kind of were teamed up by like, does your vehicle have wheels? Then you guys are in a group together. Does your vehicles fly? Like when you transform, are you flying? Like, so then you guys go over here. And then like they were not really kind of grouped by like Autobots and Decepticons. That came later from what I remember. And so like I want to say that like some of those characters could have been I think it might have been like when they hit America that it became there was a cartoon, then it became like the Autobots transformed into automobiles. And then the Decepticons turned into planes and then anything else. Because you had Soundwave and then Shockwave was a gun, Megatron was a gun. But most of all of the Autobots, with the exception of Blaster, they were all vehicles.
Yeah, they were just guns. So if it transformed into a gun, someone would still have to come over and pick it up and shoot it. I
Right.
always
This
thought
was
that was
well
so.
before we had like mass, whatever they call it now, like mass distribution or whatever it was like whenever the mass displacement, like the size would change. Like, Soundwave is a gigantic robot, but when he turns into a tape cassette player, like a human can hold him. But yeah, dude, I'm looking at these and these action heroes were actually really nice. They all pretty much look like the same formula. So it looks
Yeah.
like, and you guys can look this up. Just look up Marchon action heroes, and you can see that these are definitely a blend of the bodies were using the same molds as Secret Wars. So they have that, basically 5 points of articulation, shoulders, hips, and head. But looks like they're using the C clamp capes from Superpowers. So
Yeah.
they all had capes. So you have one that's mostly white with some hints of red and blue, and they all are wearing basically what look to be like luchador masks. But they're not luchadors. Think of Captain America. Think of his mask. That's kind of what they look like. And he's got a blue cape. Then there's a mostly blue guy that's a little bit of white and red. He's got a red cape. The guy you have is white and red with like a black triangle shape on his chest with a yellow cape. The coolest one to me is this guy that's almost all black with some hints of white and gold with a purple cape. And I love his color combo. He looks great. These bikes even look cool. Like I'm surprised this line didn't take off and become bigger than it is, because I think it looks really cool. And I would love to know, like, if anybody out there knows. I know my buddy Andy. He's like our encyclopedia whenever he's on our show on Double Jointed. On I wish he was here to be able to. Did these guys have names? Like, or was that just part of the deal? So they did have a couple of vehicles. So there's 4 motorcycles, but I also found a listing for another vehicle in this line, um, called the Baddest 4x4. Um, so basically, it was a 4x4, some sort of like 4x4 vehicle, and it was called the Baddest, or the Bad, BAD. I'm trying to see, like, I had it, and then yeah, the Battle Assault Destroyer, the baddest 4x4 vehicle, holds holds all figures up to 4.5 inches. So they're even telling you, like, in the ad, like, you don't even have to put, like, oh yeah, they even show it with this other little robot off to the side. Like, you don't even have to put, like, these figures in. You can use it with anything. It's like this holds up to 4.5 inch figures. It comes with a machine gun sound, and vehicle moves, operating canopy, freewheeling movement, no batteries needed. Oh man, this looks dope. I would have definitely played with this as a kid. I'm gonna send you this through Messenger while we're chatting.
Yeah. So I only remember this one guy. I was really shocked to find out, like years later, that it was this whole line and they had vehicles and all this stuff. And like, I don't we probably picked that guy up from like a yard sale or a flea market, because I know my grandparents loved going to yard sales and flea markets. So that's probably where he came from. Um, but yeah, same thing. Like, looking at them now, I'm just like, dude, I would have played the hell out of these guys if I had a bunch of them. I was fortunate to have the one that I had, because he was the most superhero character that they had at their house, and then I'm super fortunate to still have that same one. I'll post a picture of mine next to some Secret Wars on the Instagram. Um, but yeah, they're super cool. They are a super cool line. It's weird that it's hard to find a ton of information about them though.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep doing some digging and see what I can find.
Right.
But yeah, so yeah, these, third party companies, bootlegs, knockoffs, whatever you want to call them, they've been around for a really long time. And like you said earlier, they're having sort of like a renaissance, because right now we have a ton of third party companies that are filling gaps left and right. Whether it comes to third party companies that are making transformers, like they're making masterpiece transformers like crazy. That's a big market. And I know several transformer collectors, diehard transformer collectors, that they swear by these companies like Fans Toys that make like these unauthorized transformers, a lot of times outdoing what Takara Tomy and Hasbro are doing on the transformer front. And we're finding that in the 6 inch action figure realm as well. Companies like websites like 5K Toys and Toys Metaverse they're lousy with the amount of third party companies that are on there selling figures
Yeah.
that are amazing, that like your, Ultimate Netman that you have. So let's kind of break these down in a couple of different ways, because we do still have a delineation here when it comes to these third party companies, because we have a company like CT Toys that people are starting to take notice of here in America. And they, I would say, are that they're going to be creating what we would consider like your bootleg or your knockoff, right? Like
Yeah.
they're basically trying to rip off exactly what Mafex or SH Figure Arts is doing, but in a much like like they were like sub $20.
Yeah.
Now they're getting up to about $30, but they are. they have come a long way in a very short amount of time. I have a couple of their very first releases, and they're kind of garbage. I've shared them with you before. I even give you a couple, and I was like, here, either take them or throw them in the trash can because they're flimsy, they fall apart, the joints are just wiggly. They're all over the place. Like I hated even like getting them in. They were just trash. But CT Toys has come a long way, man. Like they are making some high quality figures. Just this week, people have started to get their hands on the CT Toys Mafex Gambit. And talk a little bit about it because I know you've probably studied that figure more than I have because you do have the original Mafex Gambit.
Yeah, I didn't get the CT toys because I have the original Mafex. I don't need to. I do kind of want to compare them. Um, but since he was creeping up a little more in price, I just skipped it. Um, but yeah, they were pretty strictly a knockoff company. They were kind of reproducing Mafex figures that needed to be re-released. Like I want I wanted a Mafex Miles Morales, adult Miles Morales, but I didn't catch on to that until after it had already sold out. And it's just a hard figure to find. So I got the
Right.
CQ Toys adult Miles for $20, for like 19 or 18 or $19. And and it's great. And he's a little their first releases were all a little bit small, so the parts weren't interchangeable because that was another thing. Like I bought the CT Toys Spider-Verse Miles because my SHF Spider-Verse Miles had a broken hip joint, and I thought, oh, maybe I can swap the parts, but they was too small, it wouldn't fit. So now CT Toys is making them the same size as Mafex, um, and they're
Yeah,
even
that was the problem at first. They were shrunk a little bit. So it was
yeah,
like they weren't using the exact same molds. They
yeah.
somehow were like, I don't know if they maybe they did that legally because maybe that's a law in China. I don't know. Like I don't know, but maybe there was something to where they're like, if it's not an exact replica, then it's not a knockoff. I don't know.
Yeah, but they're even kind of dipping their toes into like improving on Mafex in some areas, and because Mafex came out with the Tiger Stripe Wolverine recently, but he had those weird long straight claws that most of us don't really like. Um, so CT Toys released a Mafex brown suit Wolverine, the brown and yellow suit that is pretty much everybody's favorite Wolverine suit. Um, that may not be true. It's a lot of people's favorite. It's yours and mine. It's our
Yeah,
favorite.
for sure.
They released him, and he came with the splayed kind of curved claws that we like with blue. He came with all his own accessories, and in addition, he came with a set of replacement claws for the Mafex Wolverine to improve your Mafex Wolverine that you already have. And like,
Right.
dude, I already like your company. You didn't have to fucking hook me up that way for me to sing your praises, but thank you. Like I bought that brown suit Wolverine so fast. I bought two of them as a matter of fact because I was like, I don't know, maybe I don't want to take a chance on this one breaking and then I can't get another one later. But then I ended up selling my second one to a Spencer locally to a friend of mine, a friend of ours, and
Yeah.
because he had also been wanting to get one of these CT Toys figures, but didn't want to spend the money on, I think was just kind of nervous about buying a knockoff, but also B, the only way to get them was like AliExpress. There's probably other ways, but like a lot of people don't trust AliExpress and then it's a knockoff company. And it's like, I get not wanting to deal with that. But when I'm standing there telling you this figure's awesome, here's one for sale, $20.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spencer was like, yeah, I'll take that. So I sold it to him and he was talking about like, man, this thing is awesome. This is a great $20 purchase. And
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm not nervous buying from AliExpress anymore when it comes to CT toys, as long as I know I'm getting a newer product. Like I won't go back. There's certain like a certain release from there on back. I don't buy any of their older releases because I know what I'm getting into. But their newer stuff, like I'm really thinking about pulling the trigger on that CT toys Gambit just because I don't have the
yeah.
original. Their Helverine looks incredible. It looks
Oh
so
yeah,
good.
that's
Like
the other one I wanted to talk about is that Helverine, or maybe that's the is
Is
that the one
I
that came
think
with the
I think the Helverine is the one that came with the
That's right.
blue claws,
That's right.
because I have the original brown suit Wolverine
Yeah.
from, not from Mafex, but from CT Toys, and I don't remember him coming with them. So I think
No,
it's the
you're right.
Helverine that does. But yeah, that
Yeah.
figure looks great too. I mean, it's a definite improvement upon not only the brown suit Wolverine from Mafex, but also the Marvel Legends Wolverine head,
Yeah.
which I do
So,
have the Hasbro version of that.
but a little bit of controversy there, though. They stole that design from somebody online, and I don't.
Oh,
Yeah, because I remember seeing that. I remember seeing that somewhere online. Maybe somebody was selling like the 3D printable, copy or whatever. And then all of a sudden it shows up on the CT toys. And so they got in a little bit of like hot water about that. And I don't know, I haven't read up. I hope they made things right with that person. I don't know, with that creator, but yeah, that,
as my law would say, pirate. I mean,
yeah,
that's the Jack Sparrow logic, right? It's like, well, I
right,
mean, it's they're not paying Marvel either. So
right.
like, what
That,
do you
that's
expect?
that part aside, though, it is the Hellmarine is an awesome figure. It's got two sets of claws, so his hands can be down or they can be up, and the flame is doing something different for whichever way you have him posed. He's got two heads, one, yeah, one with the mouth open, one with the mouth closed. That's all you need for that guy. And then yeah, he's the one. You're right. You're right. He's the one who came with the blue splayed curved claws for the upgrade for the Mafex Tiger Stripe Wolverine. And
Yeah, which I don't
oh
have either.
yeah, those are all great. I've seen people talk about the Gambit. I've read reviews on it. People are saying it's definitely not as good as They're not as good as Mafex, but they are so close. They're so good for the money that like if I didn't get Gambit, if I didn't pre-order him when he came out, like I couldn't buy him now. I can't justify it. You know what I mean? Like the
Right.
markup on him on the aftermarket
I've
is just
seen the
insane.
pictures of just the Gambit, not the jacket. Like I think in the pictures that I saw that somebody had like maybe there was like one or two pictures with the jacket comparing it. They had them both in the same hand. They had the Mafex and the CG toys, and they had a
Yeah,
couple of pictures with the jacket on, and then the rest of the pictures were all with the jacket off. And I could not tell them apart. Like
yeah,
maybe I could if I was holding both of them and moving the joints, and I could feel the difference in the plastic because you can feel the difference
yeah,
in the way that it feels in hand. There is a noticeable difference, but it's negligible, right?
right,
You're talking about like even if you could go on to BBTS and buy that Mafex Gambit right now, he would be like 115, right?
right,
And that Gambit from CT Toys is $30. Like
right.
that's a no-brainer. Like whatever the differences are, and if they're negligible, like, are you kidding me? We're talking about like almost an $80 price difference here. There's
Yeah,
no chance I'm not gonna like go and check out that CT Toys. Like,
yeah, yeah.
for sure.
For the money, they're awesome. And then I don't know how Mess Toys is connected, but I've been seeing that it's like CT Toys slash Mess Toys are the ones doing the new Revoltech. Um, I don't want to call them
Right.
knockoff. I don't want to call them knockoff Spider-Man figures because the style is like Revoltech, but Revoltech never made these
Right.
specific Spider-Man figures. It's like a
Right. They didn't
broad,
make the symbiote or
yeah.
the yeah, this particular version of the
Yeah.
red. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they didn't
So,
make these.
so yeah, those are coming out, and people are. I think some people are getting the the symbiote in hands now and talking about it's they're saying good things about it overall. I mean, here's my experience with CT toys. There's usually one joint that pops out a little too easily, like an elbow joint that wants to just fall out of you. So when you're posing him, you kind of have to be mindful of it and push it up when you bend it, that kind of thing.
Right.
Um, and then you might have this shoulder joint is too tight and this leg joint is too loose. And you can put a little bit of shock oil in the tight one, and you can put a little bit of Kiki's joint fix in the loose one. You know what I mean? Like there's little things you can do to improve these things, these figures that make them just well worth the money. And so I'm loving like checking out the bootleg stuff these days because I think a lot of these companies are, you know, some people like I think some people have issues with it morally, like oh they're stealing from these other companies or whatever. And look, I'm very much I'm very much a Robin Hood in in at my heart. I'm very much a steal from
Right.
the rich and give to the poor type. So that doesn't really break my heart at all. I'm worried about like I'm more concerned about am I getting a value for my money, whoever I'm giving my money to? Is it worth it in all these other ways? You
Right.
guys, you guys
Absolutely.
on the other end legally, and who's has the license and who doesn't. That you guys figure that out. I just want a good product, and who's going to give it to me at the best price. Like that's
Right.
really it.
Well, on the flip side of that, outside of like CC Toys, now let's move over to like some third party companies that may not have the license, but they are delivering the goods. And these are not knockoffs. These are not unauthorized remakes of things that already exist. These are people creating, they're filling holes, right? Like they're creating new stuff. I
Yeah.
wanted to talk about a couple of these real quickly because I know I'm just looking at the time. We're at an hour and 10 already. So real quickly, I want to talk about like muff toys. You and I both have experience with muff toys. My first experience was buying a headset that they made for the Mafex Batman, the Robert Pattinson Batman. They made like a Bruce Wayne head and a new Batman with the cowl head. I bought that and I was blown away. I was literally looking at it thinking, this is like a Hot Toys head, but in 1/12 scale. From there, they have continued to make little heads and little accessory packs along the way, but they've kind of branched out into whole entire figures now. And you guys may have remembered the craze that took over the toy world a couple months ago with the Protector of Metropolis, the unauthorized Clark Kent figure. There were two versions of blue suit that came with like the blue and red and yellow Superman t-shirt underneath, and then there was a brown suit version that came with that same classic Superman colors, but also came with the black suit underneath as well. That's one of, I mean, that figure is literally on like my top 10 figures of the year list. Like that figure is
Yeah,
absolutely incredible.
they're great. I had the Protector of Metropolis blue suit one briefly. Um, my only issue is I don't like a straight neck. Like the head. What did the head move at the top? And is that it? It didn't have like a lower neck joint. Was that right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So I
It's
couldn't. I
possible.
couldn't.
I can't remember. Mine's up there. I took it out and messed around with it, but
Yeah.
I've
I,
never, I put it back in the box. I haven't messed with it since.
I just couldn't get the articulation I wanted for like flying poses. But then the other thing is that guy's honestly a little overwhelming with all the options. It's all the like I can't complain about the quality. Everything was top quality. All the soft goods, all his accessories, everything was top quality. But there are so many creative, fun ways to set him up and have him look good on your shelf. And every pose I put him in was like a masterpiece. And I was just like, it's too, but for me, it was too much. It was too overwhelming with the possibilities. I was like, I could sit here. I need to take a week off from work to sit here and put this guy
Yes.
in every pose that I want him in and take pictures and get the lighting right and everything. And yeah, it was just, but I didn't do that. I put him in one pose, pulling the shirt open with the tie flailing and you know, like ready to leap into action. And I just set him on my shelf and he just looked so good like that. And I didn't touch him anymore. And I was just, I was like, all right, well, I need to move him on to somebody who's going to appreciate him more because that's all he's going to do, and he can do so much more. So I told him to Jose at a discount since I had already opened him. But I explained to him, I was like, there's nothing wrong with it. It's a great figure. It's just not for me, not for me personally. I like something that begs me to play with it more. I don't know. I'm not sure because like I said, the possibilities were endless with this guy, and yet I don't want it because there was too much possibility and everything.
Yeah.
Just
Sometimes it's overwhelming.
yeah. That's really the best term for it. It was just too much for me personally. Um, but I can't. I'm not knocking it. It's a great figure, and then the Kryptonite. What's the new Batman called? Kryptonite Hunter.
Kryptonite Seeker. So this
Seeker.
is going to be Seeker, Kryptonite Seeker. So this is basically the Nightmare Batman from Zack Snyder's Batman versus Superman film. So it's the Nightmare Batman, and he comes with like the trench coat and the weaponry and like all the gear on him or whatever. Mine has shipped. And it is on its way. I should be getting it in the next couple of days, and I'm excited for it. I can't wait. Like they're just knocking out some really cool figures. They're amazing. And again, if you want to check any of these figures out, head over to like Toys Metaverse. That's TOYZ Metaverse or 5K Toys, and you can check them out. Just search Muff Toys. You'll be able to see all of their wares. There's another company called Fury Toys that is like Fury is making me very furious right now because you jumped on this early. They are making a a range of Ninja Turtle figures that I missed out on. I was like, I don't need another Ninja Turtle line. Again, I don't need another one, but they looked really cool. They named them spring, summer, fall, winter, apparently, because they don't have the rights to the Ninja Turtle license. They made Leonardo, which I missed out on. And then they made Donatello, which I picked up and have, and then Michelangelo, which I have. And I think they've now since released like a Splinter and like Bebop and Rocksteady, right? And we've
No,
seen
not yet. Not yet. They
not yet. They haven't come out yet.
no, they have released images of Bebop.
That's right. That's
Nothing of Rocksteady so far, but they've already released images of like the 3D design of Jenica, and we don't have Raphael yet. And
right.
me and everybody else are like, pump the brakes on Jenica. I'll get her once you get to that point, but you haven't given us Raphael yet or images of Rocksteady. And Jenica's down the line, bud. She's fine, but you're you're like, hey, look, we got Jenica coming, and we're just scratching our heads like, when is Raphael coming though? So yeah, those figures, man.
Shredder.
No, they haven't announced Shredder yet.
Okay.
But those figures are so nice. And the thing is with Leo, he was like single joint knees and elbows, or single joint elbows. I think he had double joint knees. But they did a reissue of him, and he's got upgraded elbows. So they're fixing them as they go. They're like reissue. They're as their technology gets better, they're putting them back out with the whatever the new upgrades. And so what's so cool about them is each turtle comes with basically two different looks. He can be more of a traditional, closer to a traditional Ninja Turtles look. It's not 100%, like they're still like their very own stylized look, but then they also each have a more or less traditional samurai look that they can also be in. And that's been very fun to just sort of play around with all the different options. And they integrate different types of materials too. There's like harder plastic, there's softer plastic, then there's some soft goods with each one. And I just think, man, those figures, they look and feel so good in hands. They pose super well. You got to kind of make sure you get everything, because to get the Ninja Turtle looking heads, you have to buy the accessory kit, because they're only going to sell you, in the pack, it's going to come with like the samurai looking head. So you got to make sure you get all the stuff. But like, if you're stay on top of it and order them when they first come out and get all the stuff that they come with, those guys have a special place on my shelf. And I'm a Ninja Turtle guy. Like, Ninja Turtles is my number one. I don't have every Ninja Turtle anything, but these guys are definitely some of the best that I have seen.
Okay, I just did a search while I was listening to that, and because I was like, I think I pre-ordered that spring reissue somewhere, and so I had to go out and look it up in my mail, and I did. I have it pre-ordered from. Yeah, I pre-ordered it from gundamit.com back in January of this year. So I'm just waiting for it to come in stock, and then they will send me an email for the rest of the payment, and then I will. Yeah. Because I have because I have Donnie and I have Raph. I mean, I'm sorry, I have Donnie and I have Mike. I'm just waiting for Raph. That's really I just need the brothers. Real quickly, I just want to mention another company that I love. I love the guys Ace and all the guys over at Ramen Toy. I'm going to see them this weekend at Joe Fest. They really jumped onto my radar. They're out of Singapore. They're a fantastic company. Again, third party, filling some holes. They're filling some gaps. They made remakes of the Centurions, which I loved as a kid. Now, the Centurions, when I was a kid, they were like closer to that 7-inch. And I mean, for me, they really created the whole idea of popping and swapping. They had these ports all over their bodies. Um, there was Ace McCloud,
Jake Rockwell.
Jake Rockwell and Max Ray. Those were your three. And you could plug in all these different effect pieces, the bad guys, you could pop them apart and put them together. And so they decided to remake those figures in 6-inch scale, 1/12 scale, true 6-inch, because they're 6, they're not 7, 7.5. And they're called the 80s Commanders. And they're pretty pricey. They've come out now. I think they've reissued them a couple times. They're right around $100 each, which is a little pricey for me when it comes to a 6-inch figure, but they are really nice. Thankfully, Greg sent me all 3 of his in the mail last year. I got a chance to review them. And so I got to play with them I kept them for a couple of weeks, played with them, did a review, and then sent them all back. And they are beautiful. They are such great figures. They've since gone on to start tackling mask. They put out a Thunderhawk called the Red Gull Wing, which I bought. I have the first release before I think um, Hasbro put the legal kibosh to it. It was like, there's some stuff you've really got to change. Like, we understand like this third party area is like a gray area, but they were calling it Machina, and they're like, you can't call it that. So you got to strip that out. Like this logo that you've created, it's a little too close to our old logo. You got to pull that out. Like, there's something about printing the details on a vehicle versus them being stickers. So like in the first release of the Red Gull Wing, everything, all the details were printed on the vehicle. But in the second release, I believe they couldn't, like, legally they couldn't print on the vehicle, so they had to make everything stickers. I thought that was kind of odd. I'd never heard that before. And they've released it a couple times. I think they released like a black version, maybe a purple version. They're releasing the shark, I think, or the piranha, not the piranha, the shark, I think is, or the great white is maybe what it's called. It's a vehicle that I don't think ever came out in the '80s from Mask. It's like this white car with a female driver. And then they said they were going to start making 6-inch versions of Mask stuff. But then what ended up happening was then we heard Super 7 was getting a Mask license. And then we found out that actually it was the Loyal Subjects that was getting a Mask license. So I don't know where in the world all of this still stands with Ramen Toy. I don't know if they're still going to be making Mask stuff, but what they have made is pretty amazing. They've also made the A-Team van, and they've made that in a couple
Oh
different
yeah.
colorways.
Yeah.
White version, a plain black version, and then the 18 version. If you want to just, it fits with any kind of like Marvel Legends, GI Joe, Valaverse, any 6-inch scale figure, it is adjacent. And they've even made what they call Aces of Navigation, which is basically their Top Gun line. So they're making all the characters from Top Gun. Now they can't actually sell you a figure of Tom Cruise's likeness, but if you buy all three, you get a free mystery head, which is that figure. It is the Top Gun. So there's some fun little ways that they have to like
Yeah.
move around and navigate, but they're definitely a great company to check out because they're making some high quality stuff, all based on stuff from our '80s childhood. Um, but that's all I've got for this topic because I'm just trying to be mindful of the time. But if you've got any other like little thoughts that you want to throw in there, now's the time to do it. If you have any final thoughts on bootlegs and these companies, any companies that you love that you want to shout their praises out?
Yeah, real quick. I did want to mention I got this Joyman toy, Rick Sanchez. I forget what they called him. They can't call him Rick Sanchez, but it's Rick from Rick and Morty. Um, it's a pretty decent body, um, pretty decent soft goods. But the thing that really sold me on him was he comes with like basically every accessory you would want Rick Sanchez to come with. He's got the portal gun, he's got a plumbus, he's got the pass the butter robot, he's got an effect for like the portal itself, and he's got some other stuff. But then the motherfucker comes with 10 heads, like 10 heads. And and he comes with a full set of fins. They're just duplicates of the Vapor from Mezco. Um, and I have been really enjoying that figure. And then the other thing I want to talk about, I think we're going to do we had briefly discussed doing a whole episode on Dragon Ball Z toys, but man, SHF has for the longest time just made the best Dragon Ball Z figures, but lately 4 other companies have come onto my radar that are all doing uh SHF style, so they look like and they go along with your SHF figures. But they're doing some characters and some versions of characters that SHF just has been dragging their feet on. And so I know Kong Studios is making some good stuff, Black Hole Toys, Tonson Art Toys, and Demoniacal Fit. I do want to dig into that stuff more on another episode because I've gotten some of those, and I plan on getting a little bit of each of them just to kind of see kind of what's what. So I do want to talk about that more on another episode, but yeah, we do need to wrap this one up, and we have covered a lot of ground here, I think.
I think so too, and I'm really looking forward to that whole Dragon Ball conversation, because I know nothing of Dragon Ball. I was telling you, we were kind of talking behind the scenes before we started recording that I know nothing. I've never watched any of the content. I don't know anything about the characters, the world. I have one Goku figure that I bought in a low point in my life. Not like I bought it at a low point. There wasn't a lot coming out. And so I was really fiending for something. Like I think it had been a drought, dude. It was like 3 weeks. I hadn't bought a single figure. And I was like, I need to buy something and pose it. And so I bought one of the SH Figure Arts, more of their mass market stuff from Target. And I bought it and I like it. It's a lot of fun. I do have the new one that you have, that's the Daima figure. I have it on pre-order because you did it to me. You're like, dude, you just keep talking about how great this is. So I want something that's great too. I like great things. So I have it on pre-order and I can't wait. So let's save the Dragon Ball conversation until at least I get my Daima, and so I can at least chime in somewhat because that's going to be a very Scott heavy episode. Not that we don't need them, because listen, I talk enough for everybody. But let's take a quick break right here.
Okay. I wanted to say if we're gonna do a Scott heavy episode, maybe we'll record from the same studio, and so we can. I'll enjoy the good sounding audio too.
We'll figure something out, I promise.
Yeah.
Let's take a break right here and give everybody a chance to go run to the bathroom before we wrap things up with what we love and what we hate this week in toys. Okay, and this is my favorite part of the show. Honestly, I really love this part. So we get to talk real quickly about something that we love from this past week in toys, and something that is just kind of getting under our skin. And we'll try not to drag too long on it. But I think the people enjoy this topic too. They love it when we rant. So let's get into it. What was something that you saw this week that in toy news that you loved? What happened that was put a smile on your face this week?
I'm still kind of riding the high of the just the new direction that SHF is going with these Dragon Ball figures. Um, like we just said, we'll do a bigger breakdown on it, but this is the fourth body style that they've given us for Dragon Ball Z figures, and they have finally come with some like actual, what I consider actual good upgrades, because there's barely an ounce of difference between bodies 1, 2, and 3. If we're being honest, like they do some little minor upgrades here and there, and this looks better, but maybe this part kind of slacking. Or I've bought and sold so many SHF Dragon Ball figures because I can never really decide if I really like them that much. But the new style that they're doing with the new articulation, with the softer plastics, where they need it to be, those have just been awesome. And so I'm pre-ordering everything right now. SHF Dragon Ball that comes up, I am putting on pre-order because I'm just enjoying the hell out of these.
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like I said, I've handled the Dymo figure. You let me check it out. It is actually very incredible. And then even the little smaller guy that's from Dyma, that I am now seeing that figure in Target. Like my Target actually has that Dyma figure. I didn't see the Goku one show up there, or I would have picked it up, but maybe I missed it. But yeah, even that little guy, I think is really nice. He moves way better than any, like, what, 3-inch action figure ever should. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. This week, for me, the thing that I loved most is uh, I love and I hate most, is that Mondo released the pre-order for Winston Zedmore, the third member of the real Ghostbusters team. I'm glad they didn't leave poor Winston last. I know that, from the movies, Winston came on last. He was the three guys and then Winston. I'm glad with the real Ghostbusters they didn't do that. So Ray is the last one we have yet to be revealed and to add to the list. But I already have Peter pre-ordered, and Egon, and now Winston. Now they have two versions of these characters. They have a $100 version. Actually, it's 101, which is weird. But they have a $101 version that comes with just the figure and his accessories, his hands, his heads, and all that kind of stuff. And these are 1/12 scale. It's the only thing I think that Mondo is doing that is 1/12 scale right now. They do have some He-Man figures coming out that are. But and then they have a deluxe version that's $202, and it comes with the same figure, but then it comes with a bigger ghost and a smaller ghost. And I don't have any of the ghosts. I'm like, I don't need those. I just want the guys. Much like the Ninja Turtles, I don't need a lot of the side characters. I just need the four turtles, and I'm good. Like that's good enough. I love real Ghostbusters. I'm actually more of a real Ghostbusters fan than I am a Ghostbusters movie fan. And we've probably talked about this before. I have more of a connection to the toys, to the cartoon than I do the movies. I love the movies. They're definitely the quintessential viewing for the 80s. But when it comes to how I love Ghostbusters, I love the cartoon and I love the toys. So I have a lot of versions on my shelf, and I was really happy to get this. The bad thing about it is that a lot of big names in YouTube Ghostbusters toy reviewers have been getting their Peter Venkman figures in for review to show everybody. These are definitely people that are, bigger names in the toy review community that have been getting theirs. Meanwhile, the rest of us all received this same week an email from Mondo saying that there was a holdup on the figures, the Peter Venkman figures, and instead of coming out in August, they're now going to be coming out in September. That happened on the same week that everybody, these big reviewers started getting their figures. So it's like, well, you got some of them in and you sent them to those people. I mean, it's just not a good look. It just happened that it was the same exact week. It's like you start seeing all these people reviewing the figure, and then you're like, oh, that's like, oh, it's awesome. It's coming soon. And then you get an email from Mondo saying, not really. It's we're kind of pushing it back a little bit. So yeah, I'm sure it has something to do with tariffs and boats and stuff like that. And some devil, yeah, we almost did it. We almost went an entire episode not talking about tariffs. But anyway, that was something that I love this week is that I love Winston, and I'm glad he's finally getting a figure. So let's have it. Because I think you and I are going to be on the same page this week. I think we're going to be talking about the same topics. We're probably going to intermingle here. But what's got you irritated this week?
Yeah, pretty much. It's Hasbro pricing, man. Hasbro makes good cheap toys. They do not make good expensive toys, and they just announced the Shuma Gorath from Marvel versus Capcom. They had to rename the figure for licensing reasons. I don't understand. So he's called like, what is he called? Goliath or something like that. They gave him a new
I
name.
don't even know. I
Yeah.
didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't know there was a big deal.
Yeah. But they announced the pre-order for the figure, and he's $70. And just I want that guy. I want that character. He's very unique and very cool looking. But I think I'm gonna play the long game and just wait and see if he shows up on clearance somewhere, because $70 from Big Bad, would be the cheapest in terms of shipping, is still putting you at $80 out the door. And I just can't imagine it's an $80 figure, man. And so there's that one, and then there's the Savage Land 3-pack that I also feel like is overpriced at $90 for Sauron, Rogue, and I don't remember the other girl's name.
Yeah, I know that she goes with the jungle guy. I know that people are wanting both that rogue and her. I forgot her name. So just looking into it, it looks like, yes, it says, I had to ask the ATV 3000 supercomputer what's going on here. And it says, yes, Hasbro had to change the name of Shuma Gorath's name to Gargantos. I heard a lot of people saying that when they saw this figure, they were going to buy it to put it with their Conan figures. And now I see why they said that. Said that because it says the name change was made due to the legal restrictions surrounding the use of the name Shuma Gorath, which originates from a Robert E. Howard story. So it doesn't say from a Conan story, but from Robert E. Howard, who created Conan, right? So, whose rights are held by Heroic Signatures. By renaming the figure Gargantos, Hasbro and Marvel Studios can avoid any potential copyright issues. Now I understand why people are saying I'm going to throw this in with my Conan. Makes a lot of sense. I just remember this guy from a video game. I don't remember him being in comic books. I don't remember him being in like a Conan book or anything. I just remember him from the game. So
Yeah, I haven't read enough Conan. I don't know him from Conan, but yeah, he's a super unique character in the game. And so when I saw they were making the figure, my first immediate thought was, I want it, but I'm not getting it. It's going to be too much money. And $70, like you mentioned, let me know when he's at Ollie's for 25, and I'm like, dude, $25 all day. But I don't even think I'd spend 50 on it. And I don't know. I don't have it in hands. I want to see some in hands poses, and I want to see some in-hands reviews before I really commit to any kind of price for it. But it's a cool piece to have. They just got to get right with these prices. So go ahead. What's
Yeah, well, that's exactly. I'm the same way. This week, Hasbro pricing has just gone crazy. So let me first start off with the first thing that happened was that back with the whole kerfluffle with the Maximum Series Hulk, right? Like when this guy went up for pre-order, he would double in price depending on where you pre-ordered him. I got really lucky. Best Buy was pre-ordering this guy for 49.99. So for 50 bucks. No, I'm sorry, 39.99 for $40. He was pre-ordered for $40. So I jumped on the Best Buy pre-order and I pre-ordered him for $40. That was in March. That was right when the whole tariffs thing was kicking off. And then you would see it for $50 here, $60 here, and then over at GameStop or Amazon, it was like $82. And the pricing was all over. I was like, how is this figure $40 here and it's $80 over here? It's crazy. It's the same figure. Well, he's now shipping. Everybody's getting their figures, and we've seen the reviews, and it's like either you're down with the figure or you're not. However, I was like, hey, I've got it pre-ordered from Best Buy. It's coming. It's $40. I'm okay getting it for $40. I was like, that's not a problem. Like I'm gonna get $40 worth of enjoyment out of it. The problem is I don't like any of the heads. So I went to eBay. I found 3 heads from this 3D printer that I loved. The heads were like $15 each. So now I'm into this thing for another $45. The heads come, I have them, they arrived, and then guess what? I get an email from Best Buy that says, we're sorry. We've had to cancel your order. And we canceled your order because we're sold out of the Hulk figure, the Maximum Series Hulk figure, and we don't think we're going to be able to get any more in. So I was like, damn, that sucks. They refunded me my money, but then here's the problem. If you go to bestbuy.com and search for Maximum Series Hulk, oh, they have plenty in stock. It's in stock, but it's now in stock for $59.99. So what they did was, instead of honoring their screw up, and instead of honoring the price that they had already charged me, the money had already left my bank. I already paid the money. Okay. So instead of honoring that price, they just canceled my pre-order, and then they give me a BS reason about why they did it. Oh, they're not sold out. They're just not selling it at that price. They're not going to take a $10 hit on however many versions of this figure that they bought. So that's the first thing that pissed me off, because now I've already spent $45 on heads that I have to paint. So now I have to go and buy the figure at the higher price point. So now I have to go buy it for $50 from somewhere else. So
you're gonna have the only $200 Maximum Series Hulk figure.
yes. Yes, exactly. So yeah, that kind of sucks. But we're gonna get into some Black Series pricing, because that also there. So we had a Black Series reveal on the 11th, and they showed off some really cool new products, both for the Black Series and for the Vintage Collection. One of the things for the Vintage Collection that they showed off was Darth Vader's TIE Fighter, which I have wanted since I was a kid. I never had. I don't know if Hasbro or Kenner made a Darth Vader's TIE Fighter when I was a kid, but I never had a TIE Fighter. I know that they made a basic TIE Fighter. There was a button you could press and the wings would pop off like it blew up. This thing is gorgeous. It's like film accurate. It's like very much molded from like the model, not a mold of the model that was used in the movie, but it's designed from pictures of the model. It even has like a swappable wing that you can pop off that looks like it's got some damage for the Millennium Falcon where Han Solo shot it. It comes with a 3 3/4 inch Vintage Collection Darth Vader on card with a soft goods cape, so that you can sit him down in there and make it look great. This thing was amazing. Then it goes up for pre-order. It's $140. And I'm like, gosh, like you have to know that this is like an $89.99 or $99.99 figure set. But here they go. They're going to blame it on the tariffs, and maybe that's a legitimate thing. I don't know, but it seems like it's $40 more than it should be. Then they come out with their San Diego Comic-Con exclusive that will later eventually be sold on Hasbro Pulse, and that is the Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi fight on Mustafar. And this thing is amazing. I think, first of all, people were like, oh, it's a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. And then some will be sold on Hasbro Pulse. I think there's going to be plenty on Hasbro Pulse, because what they've done here is, without getting too much into the weeds, they've fully retooled these Star Wars figures, these Black Series figures. These are new Anakins and new Obi-Wans from the ground up. And they've added in a lot of new articulation points like boot swivels, a new softer PVC that they say is closer to cloth material, so that the butterfly joints can move and the hinges and the stomach, the bins can move because the Jedi robes and the tunics are now the soft pliable PVC. So they're adding in the ball joints on the wrist. So I think what they're doing is I think that Hasbro is doing the honorable thing by saying, okay, clearly we're about to make a leap forward in pricing. I think they're getting us ready for a $30 Black Series figure, right? But I think they're trying to do the honorable thing by at least getting us a better figure for that money. So if they are going to charge $30, right, for this new figure, then I think they're at least trying to give us a better figure for that $30. And that I'm on board with. I'm totally on board with that. If the prices are going to go up to $30 per figure, I'm okay with that. If they give us, multiple heads, multiple hands, that's the other thing. They're giving us hands in this pack that are not gun hands, gun holding hands. They finally give us some force wielding hands for a Star Wars figure. I can't believe it. I don't know what world I'm living in. Is it 2038? I have no idea, but I'm happy about that. It also comes with this beautiful base, this floating Mustafar platform. It's got lava underneath it, this clear translucent orange plastic. There's even a secondary Mustafar robot droid, a lava collecting droid that's separate. That's got a platform on it, and it's got a lava base underneath it that Anakin can hop on, and this thing can fit together any way you want with the other base. It looks incredible. This is the Anakin and Obi-Wan set that fans have been dying for from Revenge of the Sith. And then the pre-order price comes out and it's $110. And it's like a record scratch and everybody goes quiet. You're like, really? What now? That's 110. What now? Like, that's two $25 figures. That's $50. So where is this other? Okay. Where's this other $70 coming in? Okay. Oh, it's the packaging. Put it in a brown paper sack. Okay. Really, packaging? And then you're like, well, okay, well, it's got this big base. That's great. But is that $60 worth of a base though? Like, is that a $60 base? Like, I just don't feel like this is a premium product. I get it. It's a San Diego Comic Con exclusive. It's going to have nice packaging. I get it. You're going to charge more. Okay. This is an $80 set all day long. This is $90 at max. $100 is going too far, and 110, you're out of your mind. Does that keep me from buying it? No, I will buy it, of course, because I'm a diehard Star Wars fan. I love Anakin and Obi-Wan. I love their fight on Mustafar. I love what it represents. So of course I'm going to get this thing. But I'm pissed that I'm having to pay $30 more than I think that it's worth. So it's just like in every instance, the Maximum Hulk, the Shuma Gorath, the Anakin and Obi-Wan, the Darth Vader's TIE Fighter. I don't mind paying more, but I just want the price to be what I think is fair, like for it to be a representational price for what I'm getting. I don't mind paying more if I'm getting something awesome, but I just I don't think that you can tell that these prices are off. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the part that gets me is like, like in each one of these cases, you're looking at it going, you guys are charging more just because you can, and you're trying to justify it. And I know that you're bullshitting me, and that pisses me off. And so that is what's sticking in my craw this week, man. It's just making me angry.
Yeah, it's it's kind of an epidemic. It seems like it's just, especially with Hasbro, they keep finding ways to be the bad guy. And it started with something you said earlier, how like other toy companies, Mafex, they can make 6-inch Star Wars figures, but they cannot sell in the same store as Hasbro. And it's like that removes that option from most people to be able to buy this thing. So they keep doing little stuff like this. They keep, okay, take the other guys out of the store. Only we can be in the store. Now we can charge whatever we want because what else are you going to get, And it just makes you not like the company, even though you like the product, but it just takes away from your overall enjoyment.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just one of those things that's like, that you're being taken advantage of, and there's literally nothing you can do except for just not buy it. And then, you're going to miss out, and then they won't have it, and then you'll pay $200 for it on eBay, and now I'm even more mad.
Yeah.
It's like,
You can go through the mental gymnastics of convincing yourself that you don't actually like it, uh, and maybe that'll work.
yes, exactly. But anyway, so that's our show. Man, it was a long one. I think it's a new record. Hey, when you only have one episode under your belt, everything's a record after that, right? So, very long episode. I'm glad you guys hung in there. If you're still with us, thank you, Scott, for doing this with me, sitting down doing it tonight. I know it was kind of off the cuff, and we had to like juggle some things to make it work, and I'm glad we did. Turned out to be a great episode at the beginning. I didn't know how in the world I was like, I don't know if we're gonna be able to pull this one off, but it was a really good topic, and I'm glad you had that idea for this. So yeah, like I said, our toy pose off is still happening right now, still going on. So go over to our Instagram page, across_the_Toyverse, and check out our toy poses. Man, too many vowels. They're getting me all straight up. Vote on your favorite pose, and also in this video, in the comment section of this video, and on Instagram, let us know, like Scott said, if you have any other figures you'd like to see us do next, and then maybe we'll choose those for our next pose off. We've talked about a lot of figures in this episode. Anything that we've talked about, we're going to go and post pictures on the Instagram, so check that out as well. You'll be able to see those. A link to the Instagram will be in the description of this video. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Scott, for joining. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. It's been fun.
And Scott and I, we'll see you across the Toyverse.